everybody. Welcome to EduTap and also welcome to the success story series that is currently going on for the NABARD Grade A 2023 recruitment cycle. Friends, I want to tell you one thing, that we always have a choice, right? You can either utilize your youth in having fun, and then in the later year you can work hard for yourself, for your family, or you in the initial years you can just give yourself a little bit push and achieve your dreams, and then afterwards you have all your life in front of you to have that enjoyment. We have today the topper, who is a 23 years old banker who has now become a NABARD Grade A officer in this very particular year. And let me tell you that he is from non-agriculture background and he has cleared this examination in his very first attempt. So whatever excuses, myths, whatever you had in your mind that no fresher can clear this, right? Or maybe only from agriculture background people can clear it, or maybe only the people with much older age only they are selected in the examination. No, it is not going to be like that. We have the topper with us today. We are going to understand about his journey and how he managed preparation for NABARD examination along with his job in a very detailed manner. But before that, let me just welcome Mr. Suraj. Hi, Suraj. Welcome on EduTap.
Thank you so much for the warm wishes, madam, and thank you for the welcome.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
delighted to.
Before, yeah, please say sorry.
No, I'm delighted to have this session with you today in the evening. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I was very
Uh,
excited.
so before understanding about the sources, let me just I want to ask you, like, you are so young, you have cleared a banking examination, you are working there, right? So what made you prepare or your for NABARD Grade A examination?
Especially, madam, actually, if I say farming, everyone has inclination, like
True.
from a young age only. But after my graduation, I had started preparation for banking because through a friend, through a common friend, as I've mentioned earlier, also that one of my friend's father was in SBI at CGM post, and that motivated me to go towards finance sector. And then I appeared for a number of exams, SBI PO, IBPS, and NABARD DA also I appeared. I cleared the mains, but because of only two vacancies in my state, I was not selected for the post. And then in 2023, I had attempted Reserve Bank of India Grade B exam, but I was not able to clear the prelims itself. So after then, I was devastated, and then I shifted my focus towards NABARD because this is also one of the most prominent regulatory body, or I can say a developmental financial institution, where I will be having better work opportunities and a better career opportunity, since it is also a knowledge organization like RBI also. So I thought of giving a try of on NABARD. So what I did is start my preparation in August, and then I went on clearing prelims, mains, and interviews, and then right in front of you, I'm sitting, being
Right.
selected as
But like
NABARD Grade A.
you're so young, right? So didn't you had that thought that maybe I can enjoy my life for a few years and then I can then start off, because you had bagged a government job at this very young age.
Madam, the thing is, these days the world is very competitive, and we had a good lot of enjoyment in our 4 years of engineering. 2 years it was already COVID pandemic, and we had no schools in colleges, and again our college was shut, and we were all enjoying in home only. So I think the enjoying part was enough for my life, and it's not that we just have to enjoy without being employed. We can also enjoy being employed also. But with what I say is, madam, with financial security at a very young age, enjoying seems much more better and much more satisfying.
True.
So that's the reason I thought we have enjoyed a lot now since we are of age 22, 23 years now, 25. Soon we'll become 30 also. Then there shouldn't be regret that I haven't prepared a lot. I haven't put in much effort. So at that age, I shouldn't feel any regret. And it's good that if you're securing your future at a very young age, not only you feel proud, but your family also feel proud on you,
True.
and even they feel secure under your garb. So that's the reason I thought of preparing for this regulatory body exams and banking exams. Because getting employment at a very younger age also beneficial for us because
True.
uh, it enhances our competitiveness in the market. So that's the reason I left enjoyment and all, and then now there is a lot of time. I think I can enjoy till my joining happens.
True. That's true. All right. Okay. So that's very good, and that's the enthusiasm we actually we should have to have that always growth in life. and you already, now you are one step ahead, and you have a lot of time in front of you now, thinking, what new, if you want to do, what new things you can do in your life. All right. So like as you were saying that you were preparing for some other examination also, so definitely, for example, quant, reasoning, English, it might have coincided with other subjects also. Similarly, you said you prepared for RBI, so ESI portion must have coincided with that, right? So if all in all I have to say, first of all, if you can give a generic point of view, like for example, you have cleared banking exam also, how would you compare the quant, reasoning and English? Is it similar of NABARD grade A to the other banking examination, or there is a plus minus in the difficulty level as per your experience?
Madam, regarding QRE, the NABARD's QRE is very QRE, that is quant reasoning and
Yes.
English, is very much easier compared to RBI Grade B, SBI PO, and IBPS PO also. So a candidate has not to worry. If there is any fresher who even doesn't know the QRE, only thing is he can just learn the basic and then he can move on. Madam, QRE in NABARD is much easier compared to the other exams. It is like in the middle of IBPS clerk mains and RB assistant prelims, I can say. So
Okay.
QR is very easy, and only thing is you don't have to. You are not required to solve all the questions. At least you can go for short 10 to 5 to question around just 50% of paper. Also, if you solve in QRE, you are good to go. There is
True.
no requirement of investing much time into QRE, as far as I feel.
True. So, if any aspirant who is for the very first time watching any interview and getting to know about NABARD, he might be getting confused why the topper said that you can attempt only 50% of the paper. Is it so? It is so because in phase one, it's just a qualifying phase, and in phase
Yes,
one we have 8 subjects. However, they are further categorized into merit and non-merit. In non-merit, you just have to clear the sectional cutoff, and quant, reasoning, English, even though they come easier in comparison to other examination, they are just in the non-merit section, so you just have to clear the sectional cutoff there. And even the sectional cutoffs are very less, it's like 2 marks, 3 marks, hardly
yes.
5 marks, but not never more than that. And in non-merit, along with quant, reasoning and English, we have decision making and computer knowledge also. So like for that, did you have any separate preparation, or like what source you can like suggest which might help in targeting multiple examination, because you also prepared for multiple exams?
Madam, regarding decision making, I was already well versed because I had prepared for RBI. In management, there is a whole chapter regarding decision making, and it was clubbed with some chapter of perception and all. Perception was also clubbed in decision making, actually, if you can see, because this is also a part of decision making. So, for decision making, anyone can watch any YouTube video or any session which is connected by your group also, that is your channel also. So, decision making also, it's quite easy to crack. Only thing is around we have to get around 7 to 8 questions right, and we just have to learn the basics of decision making, and that will suffice. Regarding computer knowledge, since I've already appeared for RRBPO also in mains, uh, computer I didn't read much, and also in my 12th I had computer science. I would not lie about that, because that I'm a computer guru or all anything like that, because I had computer in my 12th standard, 11th and 12th standard. I was well versed with certain basic fundamentals of computer. But if any aspirant, if he wants to study computer, then any YouTube video or any YouTube session by either it is offered by you or any coaching center, he can refer to it. There is no requirement of going in depth in for computer science. So only thing is just he has to learn the basics of computer regarding hardware and all, and then he is good to go.
Right, true. And because also that being the non-merit section, you don't have to push much yourself to the non-merit, because we have another section in phase one, that is the merit section, where we have 3 subjects: general awareness, ESI, which is economic and social issues, and agriculture and rural development, right? So see, even though you
Yes.
prepared previously for RBI or other examination, we'll definitely talk about ESI for once. But see, it's usually said, and people usually say because he has done banking, so he already know much of the subject, or he has prepared for other examination. But like current affair is something, no, that it will be asked only, or maximum questions are asked just 3 to 4 months before the examination. So even though you have been preparing for years, current affair is something that you would have to do as per the time of the examination when it is conducted. Now you are working also, right? You're working also, and ARD is something which we again in further we will discuss that how you prepared. But ARD subject was something like that you had not touched before. This was the very first time you were preparing for NABARD, and you started your preparation after your RBI's exam, right? But for like along with job, how difficult or easy or like simple it's like you can do so, is it to memorize the current affairs? And how did you manage?
Regarding managing time with the job, madam, after coming home, like after 6:30, sometimes 7, sometimes I have also stayed till 8:39 also in my bank during campaigns and all. So what I used to do is if I have had a task schedule that, or I used to make a small note that I have to cover this section today. So after coming to home, after my working, what I used to do is the first section which I touched was current affairs, because current affairs you have to do daily. Doing current affairs daily will help you, and it will not create a burden on you just before the day of mains or prelims. So I would recommend that people or any aspirant who is watching this video, he must do current affairs daily, because it will take only hardly around 30 minutes of his time. He can refer to any source like affairs crowd or any YouTube video. There are many multiple amount of channels and websites where he can refer to current affairs.
Yeah.
So first thing which any aspirant, if he is doing or either he is working also, then he has to go for current affairs, because current affairs is very essential, and half an hour time he can devote daily, so that it will not create a burden. And
Right.
secondly, then
You
I used to move
particularly,
towards
what sources did you refer for current affair, if you could share?
PIBI referred, and Affairs Cloud I referred. Daily Affairs Cloud, which is available at free of cost. There is no requirement of investing any money in that also.
Hmm.
So half an hour daily. What I used to do is first I used to go through that, then I used to revise it there only, and the very next day also, before touching the next day's current affairs, that is today's current affairs, I used to revise it also. So at least around 2 times revision I used to do for a one particular day current affair. Then I used to move towards ARD, because ARD was the most fearful section for me. That's the reason I didn't attempt NABARD only, because I thought ARD is full of scientific
Yeah.
synonyms and
Details.
scientific
Hmm.
nomenclature. And I thought it is full of scientific names and scientific nomenclature, and full of agricultural practices which are we are not aware. Only BSc graduates or those who are in agriculture can only they
Hmm.
can only grasp or handle it. So I used to devote around 3 hours of my study or every day to agriculture, and then I used to move on ESI. And one thing, constant thing which I did was constant revision each and every day. Revision is not to be missed, because once you study, you will forget it. Any human being, he will forget it. So revision is the key, and when you get more amount of time during weekends, like Saturday or Sunday, so
Yeah.
you have to utilize it, and you have to be very conservative regarding your study schedule.
Right. You just said that 3 hours you try to dedicate to ARD. So how many hours in a day did you use to study? Because you said current affairs should be done daily, and then you were covering ARD also, right? And ESI also you were doing a revision. So how many hours were you giving in a day?
9 p.m. I used to start, and then I used to stretch it till 3, sometimes till 4 also it would happen. But and when I used to get free breaks in my lunchtime also, no, what I used to
Yeah.
do is I used to revise the current affairs of a previous day. It would hardly take around 10 minutes while eating. Also, I used to revise that. And in the morning, also in the branch, if I get even certain leave, also what I used to do is I used to open up a newspaper, and I used to read important agriculture current affairs, and then I used to shut down and come home and revise it again. So that I used to
Right.
do, because management of time is very essential while you're uh, preparing
That's
or
true.
an aspirant.
That's true. But one question that came, right? For example, you were studying at around 3 a.m. in the morning. You used to study, right? Then you used to take some sleep, and then you used to go to the office. But
Yes, ma'am.
continuously doing this for days, doesn't your body ever felt fatigued? Or like, how did you managed your body as such that you could cope up with the that fatigueness?
Madam, actually, fatigue will come through after certain number of days. But actually, I'm a night owl, because I like studying in night.
Oh,
Waking up early in the morning and then studying never got into my mind. So I was already a night owl. But regarding body, what I used to do is in the weekend I used to sleep around 10 hours straight. No
okay.
concession in sleep. 10 hours you have to sleep, because sleeping will make things remember.
Yeah.
If you have lack of sleep, then you will forget things also. Even you do thousands of amount of times of revision, you will forget. So during weekends, at least try to take care of your sleep also. I would say around 8 to 10 hours I used to sleep, sometimes 11 hours also.
Yeah.
It's fine.
That is true. Many aspirant, or there's a notion in the market that wake up early and then study, it will help you to retain things, and that's true. But I think aspirant at the last moment, they should not try to change themselves. Like if they're
Yes,
night owl, it's better they just prepare at that moment only. They have their whole life to switch to the morning person, but at that moment, whatever suits you best, because ultimately, what you'll do, you force yourself to sleep early in the night, and then you will not be able to wake up in the morning, and you will just have that regret all throughout the day that you could not study, right? So definitely whatever suits you, go for that. And weekends you have, so in weekends you can give extra efforts to studies also, and your body can recover
yes.
itself also. All right, okay. And now if you talk about ARD, like ARD is something you started preparing in August 2023, and then in October, like at this time it happened to be that examination got late, but in October was phase 1. So what was your strategy for ARD? Did you chose some selected topics that these are the ones I want to cover and I'll fetch marks in ESI, or you gave your equal importance to ARD? And like if you could just tell how you prepared subjective objective like together for ARD.
Regarding ARD, madam, my preparation was jolted around certain topics which I believe had a slight connection with my mechanical engineering background. So I used to go for this irrigation and then agroforestry, and there are chapters like rural development. That is rural development. I used to study a bit like completely because it was easier compared to agriculture. In agriculture, you have this SRA method of rice intensification, and then
Yes.
you have various other cytokinin and all those chemical names. So that part I used to skip while for prelims, but in mains I used to study that. So what I used to do is in ARD, one chapter I used to study around 4 to 5 times because I used to forget the names
Yeah.
because they were so tricky for me because since I touched that first time, so one chapter I used to revise around 4 to 5 times. In the weekends also I used to revise that chapter or whatever the chapters which I've studied in the whole 5 days or 6 days, I used to revise them in the weekend because uh, I was doomed to forget those topics. Every time I test, then I used to forget them. So I used to
Yeah.
do constant revision of that ARD topics. And for example, if I didn't knew any topic, for example, SRI, system of rice intensification, I didn't know because reading that verbal, whatever it is mentioned in the PDF, I was not able to grasp or understand it. So what I used to do is I used to watch the actual cultivation, SRI cultivation of rice in
Okay.
YouTube. So how the actual cultivation happened, like how farmer
Mm.
used to do that nursery and everything. So I didn't even knew about this nursery things also that there is also a thing called nursery in rice also.
Yeah.
So what I used to do if I don't understand any topic, I used to go watch the actual video of that system and then I used to write it down in my own words and then I used to have a better understanding of those topics. So that's how I prepared for ARD.
Right.
Uh,
And
and
usually in ARD has
yeah,
been observed like in descriptive, no, sometimes exact theoretical questions are asked. Like whatever be the topic, and then that only theoretical questions are asked, right? So now, like as you said that you were not able to recall the names of or the terminologies, you were not able to recall that, right? So how you prepared? Because while during preparing, you must have this thought, right, that the direct questions can be asked from the theoretical portion. So how did you prepare for that thing? Like, did you use to practice type any topic randomly, or how?
one thing I would like to say to any upcoming aspirant is do not just go for reading. Take a pen and write on your rough book because writing will make you remember more.
Yeah.
What I used to do is any topic I used to listen or any word I used to write it down that yeah. So this happens so that this happens. So you should always have a pen in your hand because when you write it there is an impression in your mind that yes you have written this word somewhere and it will get into your mind. So what any aspirant has to do is that he has to take a pen and he has to be ready with his notebook. He has to note down each and every point or just try to make short and crisp note. What I used to do is, for example, in for annual report also, I made one single A4 sheet of note so that it will be very helpful for me to revise. So, for example, if there is a PDF of 40 pages, what I used to do is I used to reduce it down to 3 to 4 pages, writing tiny words here and there, and then just writing the headings and trying to recall it that. There is one term called that's reverse revision, something called. I'm not aware of the terminology, but what I used to do is I used to make very compact and short notes of like, for example, if it is 40 pages, I used to reduce down to 3 to 4 pages only, just
Oh.
10% of whatever the whole content was. For example, in irrigation, I had referred a note of clarity. So it was around 40 pages. What I used to do is I used to write tiny notes and important points, and I reduced to only 4 pages. So this helped me a lot while preparing for mains, because in mains I need not to go through the whole 40 pages PDF and make my, waste
Yeah.
my time, because already there was less time for preparing that. And for topics like agroforestry also, what I used to do is I used to just note down small points, because agroforestry was a very probable topic for descriptive,
True.
and it also
Hmm.
came in agroforestry. So that these kind of topics I used to reduce. And one big difficulty I felt was this livestock chapter,
Yes.
reading and remembering the names of breeds and their types. Sometimes Hallikar jumps into drought or milch, and sometimes
Yeah.
Gir jumps to drought or dual breed. So that
Hmm.
was very difficult for me to remember. So what I used to do is I used to make precise notes of that and used to revise that often and often.
Right.
Making notes is very essential for a candidate, because having a pen in hand will make you remember more, as I
Right.
feel.
So throughout the process, did you have this thought in mind that you will try to score average in ARD and you would try to fetch more marks in ESI?
Yes, madam. Since ESI was my strong subject,
Hmm.
I thought that I would be trying to score more, trying to gather more marks in ESI and GA especially. In ARD, if I score around 18, 20 also, it will find that I'll be pushed into the means. So this was the thought I had. Actually, I had this thought since the day one only when I started preparing. Because already I was weak, and I thought that ESI and GA, I'll try to score maximum. Even in mocks also, I used to score good marks in GA and ESI. But ARD was very poor, sometimes 8, sometimes 10, 12. Then in final
Hmm.
prelims, I attempted around 27 questions in ARD. And ESI attempted around 30 questions. And GA attempted around 15 to 17 questions. I think this has
Right.
pushed me to mains.
Right. So what kind of aspirant are you? See, there are usually two kind. One are like they are very specific with the number of questions they are going to do, only if they're 100% sure. While some, they try to, even if with a certain guess, they try to attempt more and more questions so that maybe, that they might end up into the positive side of the marking system.
Madam, I have being an aspirant, I have had also faced failures in mains and prelims of various banking examination.
Yeah.
What I learned is that do not trade off fluke with accuracy. That if you are very 100% sure shot, you will always clear. Mark those answers only which you are 100% sure, and do not panic in the examination hall. One thing I used to tell myself constantly before going to examination hall is that do not panic, because once you panic, everything, it just goes into vain. How much our time you have prepared, maybe 3 months, 4 months, everything goes into vain. So one thing I used to say is that I shouldn't be panicking in the examination hall, and I'll be marking only those questions in which I'm 100% sure. Because trading accuracy with with
Guesswork.
fluke,
Hmm.
it's with guesswork, it's not a best option for me. So I used to stick to those only those questions which I had very that was short. That is, I had very belief that it will be 100% accurate. Only those questions I marked. Even in phase two also, I left around 3 to 6 questions. Like I
All right.
attempted only 18 in 2 marks question, and in 3 marker I only attempt in 1 marker I only attempted 7 questions only, because I was not sure about this those questions. So I left it, because I didn't
Yeah.
want to trade accuracy with that.
All right. So, like between phase one and phase two, there was a lot of time which the institute has taken this year to declare the result. So, did you first waited for the result as you were already preparing for descriptive writing? So, you were certain, that whenever the result will come, and in those days, I'll just prepare. Or you, right from the phase one, when the phase one happened, you started practicing for phase two.
Madam, there is a thing that even if you are trying to, even if you will get A1 in the end, you will always feel inferior after writing, because even I thought that my attempts are very less, and I may not get selected. So I
Yeah.
just went quiet. I didn't prepare anything. I was just looking for, because in that meantime I also had NIACL. I think
Okay.
NIACL also. I had NIACL, so I started preparing for NIACL,
Hmm.
and I was not much bothered about NABARD, because I wanted to go to RBI. So I
Yeah.
started preparing for RBI assistant prelims also, because prelims was scheduled just the day before the mains, that is phase two of NABARD. So I
Hmm.
started preparing for RBI assistant only. I used to give couple of daily mocks of RBI assistant, and I just left the preparation of NABARD phase two, because I was not
Yeah.
hopeful of getting my name in the phase two roll number list. But
Right.
hopefully I got
but
selected,
but
and
then the name came, right? So then how
uh,
did you manage, like first of all I want to know that how did you manage your RBI assistant preparation and NABARD grade A, or then you prioritized?
My madam, I prioritize RB assistant first because I thought, yeah, at least because since ARD, I thought it is a very tough game. At least since I have a QRE background, I'll be
Yeah.
getting selected in NABARD in RB assistant prelims at least. So I started. I devoted whole of my time to RB assistant only, even in Sundays also. Just a little bit of NABARD phase two I used to touch because I was not hopeful that I'll be getting
Right. So then what were the
good
things
in
that
phase
you
two.
touched for NABARD grade A, or you felt like, okay, these were the topics which you thought were most important, and indeed they become important?
Uh, for phase two, the after the results were released for phase one, that I was in phase two.
Mm.
So the big topics of ARD which I selected was, first of all, was the irrigation, then agriculture extension, then the agroforestry I selected, and then the basics of agriculture and the new technologies in which agriculture is foraying. So there are around three to four, five to six topics on which I delved more. There was also this one topic, the basics of agriculture, that is the root system and the
Agronomy. Yeah.
yeah, agronomy. Yeah, in that agronomy, I focused more because it was full of scientific names also on
Yeah.
process and everything, cytokinin and a lot of scientific names. So that
Yeah.
I focused more, and then I majorly focused on those parts like agriculture extension, social agroforestry, because these were like scoring topics. And majorly I focused, but around 7 to 8 times I revised this livestock part,
Okay.
this names of breeds, because I used
Hmm.
to forget them often and often, often and often. So
Okay.
livestock, uh, because last year also, as I analyzed the last year paper, livestock questions were there. So I thought questions from livestock may come, but I
Yes, yes.
think this
And
year
for
it
and
was
for
different.
ESI, like because in ESI it's a very random thing that are asked, because more of the current affair based questions are asked, so it becomes quite random. Like in ESI, what topic to cover? So for that, did you had any specific sectors that, okay, these are the sectors of which I'll have a revision on, or for schemes and everything? Like how did you do?
Yeah, for ESI especially, I used to read this business line, in the business line. There, I used to gather some content, and then I used to read this Vivek Singh's economy book, certain chapters which I felt. And PIB was very beneficial because ESI is not based on static; it is based on more on, now NABARD is, even NABARD exam is also inclined towards the current portion of
Right.
ESI. So I used to study PIB regularly, and from there I used to pick up topics. And if there were any major schemes the government has released, I used to pick up there, and then I used to make digital note of them. Evernote is one application which is available free of cost. So I used to make digital notes on them. And for agriculture schemes also, I used to make notes on them only. Some and separate section I created, separate notebook of agriculture I created in that, and then I used to write down the schemes in that only. And whenever I used to travel somewhere, or when I had free time, whenever I had free time, I used to look at those schemes and used to revise them. And one good thing I did about reading schemes is, for example, I'm reading a chapter, let us say forestry only, or let us say agronomy only. If there is organic farming I'm coming across, or if I'm coming across natural farming, then I used to see if any schemes the government has launched. For example, RKVY the government has launched, PKVY,
Hmm.
Bharatiya Krishi, Prakritik Krishi Paddhati it has launched. So what I used to do is, pertaining to that topic only, I used to jolt down and read those schemes. So it had become more comprehensive and easier for me to read the schemes. Else it would be difficult. I would be reading theory once, and then I would be reading schemes again.
Yeah.
So what I used to do is I used to club them together,
Hmm. That
and
must
that's
have
how I went.
definitely helped. And did you had the typing practice also? Like typing and
Yeah.
everything.
Being a banker, madam, we used to type every day in banks,
Yeah.
checks, letters, then customers' names and everything. So typing practice was good of mine because I had practice for this RBI Grade B exam. I had typed a number of answers, model answers for myself, and I had
Hmm.
also reviewed those answers with my peers and some mentors also. So descriptive, I had a good command. Only thing is, I was lacking in some grammatical mistakes, which I tried to correct using Grammarly, and
All
that's
right.
how I went. With descriptive, I didn't practice much
Right.
because I
So,
already had a
so
good command.
then were you happy with your NABARD grade A phase two when you gave it, or did you had that regret that maybe if you have given a little more time when you saw that you passed phase one, so did you had that regret that maybe I should have devoted more time? Like what was the mindset you had at that moment?
Yes, madam. Actually, the moment the phase two paper, that is the evening session, concluded, I thought that I'm not going to make it because in there was one question of 10 marker in which I attempted very less amount of words. It was around 450 and I attempted only 280 to 300 words. So I thought I'm not going to make it because I thought I could have performed more better in some answers like agriculture extension. I could have mentioned the definition more better.
Yeah.
In demographic dividend question, I could have mentioned the mentioned much more schemes of government or much more initiatives of government. So it's good that you have regret because that constant feeling of regretness must be there in a candidate's mind. Else, what will happen is he'll not study for the further
True.
stages. So I already was worried the day I finished my phase two. I was already worried that maybe or may not be I'll be getting selected. So I stopped preparing there itself everything.
Then you
Then
then started preparation for some other exams?
prepare other exams as I would say RB assistant mains because I was hopeful of clearing RB assistant mains, RB assistant prelims, but I didn't clear RB assistant prelims. It was just a
It's
day
the
before the phase two.
it's like opposite it had happened. You were preparing for
Yeah,
RBI assistant and you cleared NABARD grade A.
because in my mind it was always there that if I will not be able to clear our NABARD
Yeah.
grade A, then I have a backup option that is RB assistant. So I was I bet highly on RB assistant, and all my expectations sunk down like the Titanic sank down in those not in
But I
that
think
North Sea.
it happened for the good only. Right.
Yeah, I
Now,
believe it happened for good
yeah.
only.
So
Yeah.
now next stage was interview stage. So you must have first waited for the result and then you saw your name. Now the next thing was to prepare for interview, right? First of all, I want to ask like how many days or months did you get for the interview preparation?
Actually, December 22, the result was released, and the next day I went for writing NHB prelims, National
Okay.
Housing Bank. Then I think the seven was psychometric, and the result was released like uh, I don't remember the exact date. For the schedule of interview was decided after 20th January, I think.
Okay.
So till 20th January, after till 20th January, what I used to do is I used to just go through annual report just for a couple of hours,
Right.
and I used to just note down the points. I did not read the annual report till my interview schedule came out. What I used to do is I just used to highlight those parts, that those important parts that I thought that I will be reading after my interview schedule
Right.
came out.
But why is
So
it
after
so?
26th.
Means why is it so? When you knew that your, phase two is clear and you are going to have the interview phase next. So like what was going through your mind? Like why did you wait it for the schedule first?
Because because there is one thing or one law which I follow, that is Parkinson's law. More time is equal to less effort, and less time is equal to more effort.
More
And I
efforts.
have followed this rule since a long time because if you have less time, right, you will utilize all your time and energy in that. So I love to do that. That is,
True.
in less time, I used to put in more of my energy. So what will happen is it will also make me remember things more crispier and clear, and I'll only do those things which will be helpful for me in the exams. Because if you have more amount of time, what you will do is you will gather
Waste a
information
lot
from
of
all the
time. Yeah.
sources.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will gather information from all the sources, and then once your interview days are near, what will happen is you will try to revise, but it will not happen, and then you'll think everything
Hmm.
is went into it. So I used to follow this one law, that is Parkinson's law, where less time is equal to more effort. More effort was needed. So that's the reason I stopped for
Yeah,
a bit.
you waited for the schedule to come out. All right. So now once the now schedule came out, then what were the different sources did you referred?
First of all, I would say everyone should go through the annual report of NABARD point to point. At least one to two questions will be there. But this year, I think I was either I was lucky or I don't know what has happened. No question from annual report came this year for me
Oh,
in the actual interview. And then after that, you should, if you're a fresher, especially, you should go through SFP and PLP of your district and your state.
okay.
PLP is a must of a district, and SFP is also a must. Then what one can do is he can have certain HR questions. There are various HR questions, common HR questions, which he can go through and make an answer of that. And then the role of his background, that is
Hmm.
either he is an engineer or an agriculturist, or either he is an arts graduate or an commerce graduate. So what is the role of his background? So one has to one has to be thorough about his background, and if he is working, then he has to know each and everything, like the general things which are required for a candidate to be, well versed with. So those things he has to refer. And then one more thing is current affairs. I would say students should make a habit of reading current affairs through newspaper, especially the editorials. I used to refer this Hindu Business Line. So There were many articles which I used to refer. So current affairs is very essential. Current affairs, for example, not like you have to go to through you have to go through this agriculture current affairs or anything like that. Only one newspaper will suffice, because studying a newspaper will also enhance your vocabulary. Not only that you will gain information through that, but it will also
True.
enhance your vocabulary. So that's a plus point for a candidate who is appearing for interview.
Right. And then how this all help you in the main interview, or in the main interview some such questions were asked which you were not expecting?
Yes, but there are certain questions like custom hiring clusters. They delve much more deep into that. That what is the current scenario and how you will help the farmers, even though we have a lot of schemes by the government. Then you will help how will you approach for increasing the farm mechanization? Because there was one question they asked me, since I'm from mechanical engineering. First of all, they asked me that what is the contribution your engineering background going to have in NABARD. So I said farm mechanization, and they catch that word, and then they followed up questions. They said, I said that since farm mechanization is is at one of the lowest, and only in rice and wheat we can see a higher level of farm mechanization. We have to increase in other crops also. Then the chairman madam asked me that, how are you going to do that? What are the methods you are going to take in handy, and for especially for the rural people, how are you going to explain them or aware them regarding the lower level of farm mechanization, and and also in the financial aspect also, how will you try to help them, or what assistance from the state government or any other sources you will take in. So they dealt more. Then they asked me about more about custom hiring centers. Custom hiring centers, they went too much deep into that, who will manage, how they will manage. And I said that at one point of time I said, madam, villages will manage everything. So
Mm.
that one more lady member of the panel, she laughed and said that if you give everything CHCs to the hands of villagers, then your CHC will not even take off. So
Mm.
that one kind of joyous moment happened there. And then uh, they asked more about to check my confidence. One of the panel member asked me that whether my bank is eligible for refinance. So here what happens is, madam, if you go to NABARD's website, right, you will see that refinance, okay, NABARD refinances to regional rural banks and rural cooperative banks only.
Mm.
So in hurriness or in somewhere, we will study only these two. And in this kind of questions, what we will say? We will say, so no, sir, my bank is not eligible.
Mm.
But if we study the annual report or the working of NABARD thoroughly, you will see that scheduled commercial banks are also eligible for. So just to
Yeah.
check our confidence, these kind of questions were thrown at me. And then they asked more about the RIDF and the PLP of my state, and then they delve deep into the cheaper cost of funds for your bank, that is whether it is refinance or any other market borrowings. And then they went for PSL, and then they also asked about the banking knowledge which I'll be having and why I want to join already, because NABARD also had name bank in its name, right?
Yeah.
So they said, you're already in a bank, why you want to join again a bank? So then I gave my clarification, and the answer seemed satisfying to the panel. And then it was around 18 minutes of interview that day. I think I'm not bragging about it, but it was around 18 minutes, one of the longest it went. And
Okay.
then finally I'm here, selected
Yeah.
right in front of you.
All right. So your interview it happened at the initial of February, and result just came last week only, right? So during that time
Yes,
period
madam.
again, you just forgot everything about NABARD as you tried to do before and focused on other thing, or still this time your mind was stuck. Yeah, what's going to be the result?
No, madam. In that phase of time, I used to feel more tense. If on a Telegram group, if anyone writes results, that these are results, the results are going to come. So what
Yeah.
I used to do is I used to get more and more anxious that the results will be released today. Every day I used to check the website at 11 p.m. Because what has happened is they released this prelims result at 11 p.m. When they released on, I think,
Yeah.
November 3 or 4 they released. So I used to check the website every day at 11 p.m. Even though if anyone said that results are out, so what I used to do is I used to check the website at 11 p.m. every day. So as and when the expected dates which were mentioned in the group, they went on and no result came, then I started expecting less. But there is one saying which it goes that when you expect, it will not happen. You will
Yeah.
only the day when you expect it to happen the least.
Yeah.
Case, I was sitting in my branch. I was doing my work, and then one of my friend called that just NABARD results are out, and she asked me to check my roll number. And then when I just gone through the PDF, I thought only 1721 starting. my roll number, the series of 171, I just saw that only there is one roll number,
Yeah.
and the last series was not matching. So I thought that it's gone. So what I thought is, then at least let us type our whole roll number and hit a search. So when I hit
Mm-hmm.
the search, that small prompt showed 1 on 1. So then I finally, I was relieved that I'm selected, and I informed it to my branch manager and my branch
Yeah.
colleagues, and everyone was happy. We went for a tea that day. That's all.
Right. So you had that moment with your colleagues. Right. All right.
But
Okay. So that was about your journey. It was really interesting, and I would say it is motivating. Yeah. Please.
one second. But I still didn't believe that I'm selected.
Why?
I only believed it when the offer letter was released. I thought maybe
Discrepancy,
this,
something like maybe
yeah,
fake or something. Yeah.
yeah, something might have happened. So only when the offer letter was released, that day I had a moment of sigh of relief that yes, it's my roll number and it's I am who is selected in this. So then it's all done. That now I'm just
You must be
busy with
much
the process of
relieved,
resignation.
and the cycle of examination that you must be giving at least for a
Yes,
while
madam.
now, it's over now. Right. And
Yeah,
definitely, the aspirants who are at very young age, definitely it must be going to be a boost and motivation for them. Instead of, just going gradually and slowly, it's better to push yourself at once, so that afterwards you can have just a sign of relief, just as you had. Thank you so much, Suraj, for joining with us and sharing your views. Lastly, I would want you to say something to the aspirants who are preparing for this exam.
Madam, in this in this era of social media, what we can see is many people are wasting their times on YouTube, Instagram, and because these activities serve as stimulation. Because we need small stimulations each and every hour, each and every half an hour, or some 10 minutes later. Because now, let us say if you watch 10 minutes of YouTube, then you will be bored with that. Now you will open Instagram or any other social media platform and you want to stimulate your mind. So, what we have seen is that the span of attention of youth has been reducing these days. So, what I would recommend my fellow aspirants or those who are trying to appear for NABARD in future is try to read more number of books at least. If you're not trying to read this material for examination, try to read at least number of books because it will enrich your cognitive ability and then coming to preparing for any exam, please be strict in your time. Or else, at least if you are currently a non-working aspirant, at least engage yourself with a freelancing work also because you will be busy and you will be able to give more time on your preparation because you will feel that time constraint and you will try not to devote your time in other activities and rather you will devote more in your studying only. So that is the importance of Parkinson's law, I would say. And regarding the fear of ARD, especially I would want to say those who are from non-ARD background, please don't be fearful of this. You only thing is just have to revise constantly. Once you do that, you will be happy to go with that. And one more thing is, madam, even though you may clear this prelims in NABARD, either through fluke or by just marking randomly, and you may get on the other side. So what will happen is in the phase two, your ship will sink. So
Yeah.
one must do is he has to practice descriptive a lot. Most probably, I would recommend Grammarly as a platform so that their grammar will also be intact and the punctuation errors or any errors which they would make. So it will help them to fetch more marks in the examination. It will make their answers more better compared to the rest of the aspirants or their competitors. That's all. I want to give the
True,
advice, madam.
true, that's true. And that's very beautifully you have given the word of advice to the aspirants. And I'm definitely sure it is going to help them. Again, sir, thank you for joining with us. And we wish you all the very best for your future.
Thank you for the team EduTap for taking their time and connecting a session with me. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.